They are Father. Make us worthy of saying, Our Father who art in heaven, be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, now forever. Okay, so we're in the middle of 11.
That's like section A. Here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The questions we have are what events happened after the death of Moses? Second thing is who are the judges? Why is Ruth in the genealogy of Christ? How did Israel move from judges to monarchy? And what are the circumstances of the covenant with the kings? So, in this group of books, which is Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, we're going to look into the establishment of the next covenant, the covenant with the kings, with the line of David. We're moving from the Mosaic covenant to the royal covenant. And it's an important period in the life of Israel. Want you to let's do this as a quiz and discussion. So how about we start with 11:1. Let's look into the first point, and I want you to read and answer the question: what events happened? Let me write it down. Get a piece of paper here. List in order the events between the death of Moses and the covenant with David. That would be your, no, share it on Zoom, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do that. Can you look at the document, and if you need, you can consult the Bible too. It's just a summary of what happened between Deuteronomy 33 and 2nd Samuel. What is it? All right. Time's up. Who wants to start? I'm gonna write them down. Whatever you tell me, I'll write. Here. Pick this up. Okay. All right. What's the first thing happened after the death of Moses? Okay. Well, want to start, Matthew? Go ahead. I guess also people online wants to share, sure. Yes. Joshua led the Israelites into the promised land. Anybody knows why it was not Moses? Yes.
Because when God told him to speak to the rock, instead of hitting it, he hit the rock.
That's the common saying. Good. At least you know this one. So what happened at one point is that God, they were in need of water, and God told Moses to speak to the rock. Let's just go there because this is important for us to know as servants. You just say, where is it? Moses hit the rock. And this. It's Numbers 20. Let's go there and read it. And I want to analyze this because it's important. I think it is. From my point of view as a servant, from your point of view as a servant, this is important. So let's go to Deuteronomy. I'm sorry, Numbers. You know that whenever they needed water, God will show Moses a rock, and he would hit it. All right. Let's go read it from Bible Gateway. I want you to pay attention to this because that's what's commonly known. What's commonly known, and seems very simplistic. I'm very skeptical when it comes to simplistic answers. It doesn't really help me in any way. Then the children of Israel, the whole congregation, came in the wilderness of Zin in the first month. And the people, let's see what else has been said around this subject. Choosing Joshua to this preparation of the war. Okay, we're coming there. Just want to talk about the why did Moses not bring the people into the promised land? It had to be Joshua. And Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, so they gathered together against Moses and Aaron. Every time that happens, they complain. And the people contended with Moses and spoke, saying, if only we had died with our brethren before the Lord, we don't have to suffer that severe thirst. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together. And then speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water to them out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their animals. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, he didn't speak to the rock. He said to them, are you with me? He didn't speak to the rock. God told him what? Speak to the rock. So he spoke to them and said, hear now, you rebels. Just think about this. Must we bring water for you out of this rock? What does that mean? He's speaking to the people. He's not speaking to the rock. And he's asking a question. Must we bring water for you out of this rock? Hmm? Is it? Or it's a... Yeah, that's those this too. Then Moses lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation of the animals drank. And then the Lord actually got angry. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe me, to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given you. That's the reason. In which way Moses and Aaron did not hallow, sanctify the Lord? Think about it. And we're going to find out what the Old Testament say about this. Tell me, anybody, those of us on Zoom too, I want to ask, what is wrong with this? You have the whole verse here. God said to him, speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Get an idea what is wrong here? What's wrong here? Anybody? Shouldn't take much. So here we go. Someone is giving an answer. He disobeyed and to speak and stroke the rock. Okay. So the disobedience is not in talking in hitting the rock, but he's been hitting the rock all along. And I'm going to show you where that is. So those of us who said it's about hitting the rock, maybe some people said that he should have hit the rock one time, not another time. It's not one rock. It's not one rock. So it's Exodus. Let me just show you that this hitting the rock business, I'm not very convinced. That's what you commonly hear. But here it is. So this is the first time ever happened. Moses cried to the Lord about what should I do? The Lord said to go on before the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel, take with your hand the rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock to Horeb, and you shall strike the rock. This happened many times, right, Stephen? How many times do you think?
Every day when you leave,
Every time they have to have, but whenever they stationed in some place, the rock continuously bring water. When they leave that place, the rock dries and they go to another place, he has to do the same thing with it. So the striking the rock idea is not really new. He didn't do this because it happened before and God told him to do this. Let me show you something here, then you would make sense of this. Psalms, the old people had kind of meditated about this. 106. And it's down in the Psalm. It talks about the story of Israel, about the Red Sea and how they rebelled and he saved them, etc., etc. Then go all the way to 33. They angered him also at the waters of strife. So that went ill with Moses on account of them, because they rebelled against his spirit, the Holy Spirit of God, so that he, Moses, spoke rashly with his lips. What does that say? But what was really the problem? Is it his actions with his hand or the words that he said? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that this is when some people say because he stroked the rock twice and God didn't tell him to strike the rock. I don't think so. I read from before he used to strike the rock to bring water. So I don't think this was the issue. The issue was that and it was spelled out very clearly here. It was spelled that God told him, you had not honored me with your words. You did not honor me. The two of them, maybe the words he said and the action, maybe, but I think the Bible here is very clear. Then the book of Psalms says because he spoke rashly. Apparently, this is the reason why God got upset with Moses. So if I go back to this is a Psalm commentary. I always look for commentary from the Old Testament on what happened. So if you go back to Numbers, right? Which Numbers? Number 20. This is in Kadesh, not in what is the word? We had the one before for Exodus 17. Where were they?
James.
Massa and Meribah. Where was that? It's in the valley behind the mountain. Let's go back. Just let's focus on this here. Here, then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron because you did not believe me. You did not believe me to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel. Therefore, you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. So here, analyze this a little bit deeper. What happened here? Why was God angry? And he's giving the reason, but how did they not honor him? And it's the Psalm says that's the words more than the actions. His sayings, his words that bothered God more than anything else. Hear now, you rebels. That's the beginning. Hear now, you rebels. Must we bring water for you out of this rock? When I say, okay, Abuna, give me a cup of water. Must I? What does that mean? Do I have to? Which means what? Abuna, I'm dying with thirst. Do I have to? What does that mean? Imply what? Just go deeper into the thoughts.
Here.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Does that really portray God's attitude toward his people? Does really God not care?
No, because he was the mediator between the.
Exactly. Thank you, Matthew.
So it showed that God didn't care, but it wasn't.
Exactly. This is the whole problem. That Moses did not convey or give a portrait of God as the loving God who cares about his people, no matter what they do. They might be rebellion. They might be the most sinful people, but God's attitude toward his people, because of the covenant, he will never change. He's faithful. And St. Paul is going to come and say this. He said, we can be unfaithful, but God will remain himself. He cannot deny himself. It's something to think about. Think about that we can go and come whenever we please. We can move, but God is unmovable. For Moses to question that and to make them think that God is unhappy with them and he's angry with them, he's going to let them die. That's what they were complaining about. You're going to kill us. Is that the God you think about? God's going to leave you to die of thirst? So when he starts by saying, you rebels, hear now, you rebels, means what? Rebellions. Must we bring water for you out of this rock? Like, I don't want to give you anything. Because they embitter their soul. That's what the Psalm said. Embitter their soul, make him very bitter. A bitter person means what? When somebody's bitter, means what? Resentful, angry, frustrated, doesn't want to do anything good to you. If they can hurt you, they will. So being the representative, the prophet, what does a prophet mean? We just connect things together. What's a prophet? The spokesperson. Like, you're not really representing yourself. Who are you? You're angry with the people? Okay, but you don't represent me. I put you to do what I tell you to do, and this is my heart toward the people. The fact that God gives a gush of water, a big amount of water, means he still have a lot of love for these people, even if they are rebellion. And it tells you something about what is required of a servant. Now we come to the real thing. What does that mean? What does that mean for a servant? If you take this to apply it to your own work as a servant, no matter what. You get that? Does that make sense what we just looked at? So sometimes you go simplistic and say he disobeyed God by striking the rock twice. It's not really that. This is very superficial. You're thinking of a God that doesn't really, it's not him. It's not like God at all. He's not going to punish Moses for this. But he failed to represent God. Because who is going eventually to do this? Ultimately. In striking him, we get salvation. No matter what happens. Who's eventually going to do it? Actually, it's we get healed when he's is stricken and smitten and killed. Of course, of course, which is the ultimate act of salvation, that God sent his son to be mutilated and killed. And by this action, by the very action, we get healed. So think about this as a servant. Think about it and how we should represent God. So ultimately, the ultimate love of the Father is expressed in the submission of his son. If Moses does not do this, he doesn't fit the picture. He's going to have to be, he said, you don't represent my son. My son is the one who's going to bring everybody into the kingdom of heaven. Then I don't think you should be doing this. That's what happened. You got this? Got it? Okay. So I thank you, Camilla, for the answer, but I would say it's much more than that. And what's common known, please question everything. Don't let everything pass and just say, okay, this is what I heard it. If you're not convinced, go after it. Really go after it and discuss and talk. All right. Next. What's the next action? So Joshua takes over, and we now know that Moses was uh, fired. Let's say that. This is very hurtful. Fired before the grand finale. He was supposed to take the people out to the promised land. He didn't take anybody. He just died in the wilderness. And Moses was okay. When Pope Shenouda spoke about it one time, it's very interesting to see that he wanted to go into the promised land. So God didn't want him to deprive him of this. And Deuteronomy, and it's very beautiful that God actually said, come, don't be sad, here. And in Deuteronomy, the same section where he is to die, is it Deuteronomy is it 33? Yeah. He gives the blessing. And where is the, okay, 1 second. It's in Deuteronomy 34, the next one. Right? So he goes to the mountain, very important mountain that you need to keep remembering. It's Mount Nebo. There's cities in North Carolina and the South in general called Mount Nebo. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of the Pisgah. I told you about this, which is across from Jericho. Jericho is the river. I'm sorry, Jordan is the river. Jericho is on this side for you, and Mount Nebo on this side. So he actually can look over the Jordan River, look into the promised land. Jericho is the first city on the promised land. He went up the mountain and he overlooked the promised land. He couldn't see all of it, of course. And then the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan. He did show him all the land, all Naphtali and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western. So miraculously, he showed him everything. The south and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. Then the Lord said to him, this is the land of which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I'll give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there. Yeah, that's that's a very tough day for Moses. But at least he showed it to him. He loved him. He didn't really think, I don't think that God was like had a problem, big problem with Moses to punish him severely. He said, I'm going to give you to see it. But when did Moses enter the promised land? Pope Shenouda said, Well, when Jesus was transfigured on Mount Tabor, who was with him there? Moses and Elijah. So he had him see it, enter it, and not only see the promise, he saw the promised Messiah, which is beautiful, very beautiful. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord, and he buried him. Who he? This is Captain H. Who buried Moses? God. That's a very special treatment, don't you think? Very special treatment. So I can make a trivia question. Who is the only person that God buried himself? Moses.
Better to walk with God.
They will come back and die. They have to. You're talking about Enoch and Elijah. Why did God bury him himself? Okay, why? Why would God hide Moses? He buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows his grave to this day. That's the whole point. Why would no one knows? By the way, Abraham body is in the promised land. You can see there's a grave for all of them. But Moses, no. Anyway, yes.
I don't think you want to be, I don't think God would want you to be unburied or resurface. That's what I'm thinking.
You can give it to Joshua. So Joshua, bury your master. Yes, I like that. Yusuf and Sarah. Israelite might worship Moses' body. That's why. Here is something for you to gather also. Is everybody with me? You get this idea? This very interesting piece from Jude. We have a tradition, actually, or something the Jews knows. Jude 1. All right. All right. Likewise, yet Michael, the archangel, in contending with the devil when he disputed about the body of Moses, dare not bring against him a reviling accusation, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." What's he talking about here? What's he talking about? So Jude is bringing in an incident that nobody had written about. Something happened. Well, why was the devil contending, fighting, or the archangel Michael fighting with the devil and disputed about the body of Moses? Yes. Exactly. So apparently the devil wanted Moses' body to be discovered. First of all, what's the first fact? God buried Moses, not even Joshua. So nobody can hold the knife to now Joshua's neck and say, "Where is the body of Moses?" Nobody. He would say, I don't know. He just went on top of the mountain and disappeared. And then the second thing is that God wanted it to be kind of hidden so that people do not worship Moses, because they have a tendency to worship things. So what is the next thing is the devil said, "No, reveal the body of Moses." And then it was not God who fought with the devil. It was the archangel. The archangel defends God's glory. They always do. And then he said you should not reveal it. And then in that fight, does he say the devil did not say you dot, right? Because the devil can curse. And the angel can curse the devil. So he didn't curse him. Do you think it would be okay to curse the devil? Archangel Michael did not. He said, "I'm not the one to do anything to you. The Lord rebuke you." What's he giving this? St. Jude say the angels, the archangels don't speak haughtily. They don't speak out of their own authority like we do sometimes. You say bad words to your friend or your brother, and because you can, and this is a presumption. You exercise authority. The Archangel Michael didn't want to exercise authority over the devil. He said, We have authority higher than us, and he will rebuke you. So this is something to think about. So this is the first incident. What's the second one? Let's go to the next one. So first, Moses died, never brought the people into the promised land. He saw the promised land from the Pisgah on Mount. Remember the name of the mount? Nebo, Mount Nebo, and was in Moab in Jordan today, the kingdom of Jordan, across the river, the Jordan River. What's the second thing? Well, who wants to say the second thing happened after Moses dying? Joshua bring the people into the promised land. Yeah, the book of Joshua has two sections. What's the first section? The conquest of Canaan. And the second section, then dividing the land. That's the book of Joshua. The first part is cleaning the land. The second part is dividing the land after it's done. But you know what? Did they really clean the land? God told them, kill everybody, kick everybody out. This is your land, take it over.
People there.
Yeah, exactly. So ended up having a lot of Canaanites living with them. And now when they have the Canaanites live with them, this is the introduction to the book of Judges. What was, and this is a question you're going to have in your test, what was the most dangerous thing the Canaanites have? Their weapon, their culture, their gods, religion, or their power? What was it and why? Yes, so gods. Thank you, sir. Gods. Why their gods was very powerful, and I'm gonna have it. You have them in the document. The Baals and the Ashtaroths. Yeah, they were tangible, right? Yes. Israelites. Why would you convert them? Think about this. Okay, that's a good opinion. But what else do you think? It's a little bit needs a little bit of a time to think about it. Why would they need the gods to be happy with them? In a way, you're there, but not completely. All right, what was the job, the profession of the Israelites? Remember, these people were in the wilderness for 40 years. No one had, all those of Egypt, what happened to them? That is it. The Israelites have been in the desert. They experienced the God of the mountain. They have not had to do any agricultural work. They didn't farm. What were they doing mainly? They were shepherds and Bedouins living in a tent, right? So their God, the God of Israel, was the one helping them through the desert. They are thirsty, he gave them water. They are hungry, he gave them the manna. They are in a fight, he defend them. But you go into the promised land, Canaan is fertile land, and people are farmers and gardeners. So what do you need? You need a God who is responsible for the rain. That's very different. So when they came in, they said, we don't have any idea about how to farm, what it means to farm. In Egypt, they didn't even do farming. So those people in Egypt, their fathers died. So what do you need to do? What did the people of Canaan say? Huh? They do, but here's what happens. They didn't leave God. So they said, the God of the mountain, that's Yahweh, is good for Saturday, for the Sabbath. But what about every day? Yeah, we're gonna have to serve the other gods that's responsible for rain. So they entered because they did not what God told them, clear the land. They didn't. So their neighbor is a farmer, and they have a piece of land next to the neighbor. So he says, "How do you deal with your land?" He tells him, In those times, you do this, this, this. When come times of rain, you wait for it to rain, and then you go back and do harvest, whatever. I said, how do we get the rain? How I get the rain? Do I have any control? I said, no, no, no. You don't have any control over the rain. It will be Baal and Ashtaroth. Baal is a male god. The Baal is a male god. And I have the document here. Just showed you what they have. They found them. They found those statues, and the statues in the archaeology. See, let me here. Here they are. That's Baal and that's Ashtaroth. This is the female cohort of a male god. That's Baal. Let me just bring it down so it's a little bit clearer, or up. A female figure and a male figure. They are the gods in heaven that are responsible for rain. And they have a more superior god on top of them. It's El. El is the father of those. So when Baal and Ashtaroth are mating in heaven, rain comes down. So how they mate? He said they have to worship, give a sacrifice, and they will do the action of mating, and then you will have the rain coming down. So what they did, the Israelites is not stupid. Sometimes they think, why do you worship? You've seen what a God had done. Why do you worship idols? First of all, their idols themselves are not God to them. It's representatives of the gods of heaven. And the gods of heaven are responsible for rain. And you need rain to live. So what are you going to do? Remember what Elijah is going to come in the Kings? What's the greatest cry? The verse that's very known about Elijah. No, there's a verse that Elijah said that you want to. Let me show you. What did Elijah say? Yes, so he says, let me just give you this verse. What Elijah said: if Yahweh where God, where Yahweh is the Lord, then worship him, and if Baal is the Lord, then worship him. It might be the opposite, but let me see. That's First Kings 18. Good. So if you go to First King 18, that's the Mount Carmel. Here, this is the verse I'm looking for. How long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. What's happening here? This is later. Elijah is speaking to the people of Israel. And he's saying to them, until when are you going to keep bouncing back and forth? What does that mean, bouncing back and forth? On Sabbath, on Saturday, they go to the tabernacle and worship Yahweh. What do they do on Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? They go to Baal shrine. Why? They're men of business, yes? Men of business. They want to have their God who protected them before, and they want to have Baal and Ashtaroth for their fruits and crops. Okay, like they're double-faced. Although the first commandment said, shall have no other gods before me. Double-faced. In the church, they are angels, and they appear before at least the authorities. They're the best people ever. But in school, we worship Baal. We say whatever they say. We do whatever they do. We're very peer pressured to do whatever everybody else is doing. Don't you think it's the same thing? If Elijah's standing here today, what would he say? Until when? Until when you're going to be doing the double-faced thing? So just stick with one. If you want to be with Baal, just be with Baal the whole time. Don't come to church. Don't come to the tabernacle. Don't offer sacrifices. That's hypocrisy. Just stick with Baal. Why are you doing this? Do we see this? Does that make connection to our own lives sometimes? It does. It does. So this is what they did. So the major problem of Israel in Canaan when they came in is not the weapons or the technology of Canaanites. It was their religion because they made a pressure on them through agricultural interests. Now, so this is a question you will have on your test. Now, then the next part, they divided the land. And Joshua warned them at the end. He said to them, you go worship whatever you want to worship. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Number 3, what happens after that? So they started to enter into this relationship with the Canaanites and serve other gods. What happened?
What would they focus on? Like on Saturdays, what would they worship God for, and what would they worship Baal for?
Because they have a strong tradition. They have all the stories. They're coming back from the desert. They're coming from the desert with a lot of experiences with God. The water from the rock, the split of the Red Sea, all these things, they're still fresh. It's almost like happened yesterday, right? So what are they going to do with that? What are they going to do with that? They're not going to forget about it. So it's almost like you see your father, your mother has given you your religion, your worship, your God. But it's up to you to decide it's going to be my personal thing or not. I have to make a decision as I grow up. It's not enough that they give me that. I need to, but this group had made a compromise. Let's keep our father's religion, but we're gonna get this new thing because the new thing is very practical. Does that make sense? Like they don't know how we are feeling in school, what pressure we have. They don't know. They have no idea. Their ideas is very theoretical. Keep that for Sunday, but let's work with what we have on every day, right? That's how they did it, and that's how we do it too. What happens next? After they get the pressure from the Canaanites, what happens? Anybody? What's the next step in this story? You read it. Yes, they suffered persecution from the enemies. God sent judges. So the Canaanites took over, and then what happened? They pressured them to worship other gods, right? When they went and worshipped those other gods, the Baal and the Ashtaroth, what happened? God sent the people that, no, God allowed them to be persecuted. We see it especially in Gideon. One of the very strong stories that I want you to think about. Gideon. Yeah, Gideon is an interesting character. Show you why. Which chapter in Judges Gideon is? 6 or 7? Judges. I'm just going to give him as an example of the stories. How many cycles of, so here is what the cycle is. Starts with the people of Israel going astray after other gods. They get persecuted. They scream to God, help, help, like happened in Egypt. God send, like Moses, he sends a judge. And then the children, this is one of the cycles. The children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. Because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the dens, the caves, the strongholds. They start carving holes to hide in, which are in the mountains. So it was whenever Israel had sown, the put seed, Midianites would come up, and also Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. Then they would encamp against them and destroy the produce of the earth as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep nor ox nor donkey, for they would come up with their livestock and their tents, coming as numerous as locusts. Both they and their camels were without number, and they would enter the land to destroy it. So Israel. So what they were actually open, exposed. They work for free in a way. So Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord, like in Egypt. And it came to pass when the children of Israel cried out to the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet to the children of Israel who said to them, "Thus says the Lord." This is the prophetic formula, right? "I brought you up from Egypt and brought you out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out before you, and gave you their land. Also I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not fear the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice." They feared the gods of the Amorites. Now, listen to this. This is one of my funniest. So if you want to have a funny story, this is it. In the Bible. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abizarite, while his son Gideon is the son of Joash, threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. And now, if you understand, you will find this bitter funny. Okay? Where do you thresh wheat, and where do you do wine press? Exactly. Threshing. I'm going to show you what threshing is. Here's threshing. Threshing wheat or threshing floor. And I want to see an image of it. Here's a threshing floor. And this is what happened when you thresh. Look at this. That's so what happened is my grandmother used to have those threshing forks. It's still in a big storage place. You have those like stick at the end of it, like smaller sticks, like a fork. So you dip it in there. So when you cut the stalks of wheat and you lay them down, you have to go over them with. Let me see if I have this. There's a technique they do for this. A technique. Let me see. Here. Here we go. The threshing floor. Huh? What is this? It's a song?
And I have had the privilege of preaching at his church a number of times. I'll just tell you what, it's a radical bunch of people that are in love with Jesus Christ. Amen.
So you go around with the animal with something on the these animals are going around on this stalks of wheat after it's ripe. What they do is they start either by the feet of the animals, or they go with a wheel. So what happened is it's hard enough to split the kernels from. Here's this thing, the fork. You see it in the hands of people, this one. So first you go with this to separate them. Separate the stalks from the kernels, from the wheat. But they remain together, mixed up together. So what do? Then you go with these forks and you spread them up. And if there's a little breeze, it drives the light shells away because it's light. But because the kernels are heavy, the seeds, they drop. So you keep doing this the whole day, you end up by two piles. One of them is the hay, the lighter stuff, and one of them is the seed, the kernels. And by this, you manage to separate them. You see how it is? And it creates, here's the problem. When you do this, it creates a dust. You see the dust here coming up? It's almost like smoking. Exactly. Have you ever seen that? I've seen it many times. You look from afar and you say, like this one here. See that? This one. If you do this good, you see how the kernels are falling down? And this dust is being carried away by the wind. So you end up with two piles, one here, one here. One has the wheat, the seed, and one have the chaff or the hay. Then when the people, their enemies, see the dust from far away, what do? Oh, they are threshing. Let's give them a whole day to finish. And they put it in bags for us. And we come and collect it, like, buying grocery from Herstetter. Yeah, you understand what's happening. So after they sow, they grow, they harvest, they thresh. It's a hard work, a lot of hard work. And those enemies will come and do it. What? Pick it up. That's it. Huh? Yes, ready for them to take. So what did Gideon do? Look at this. Let's go and look into old stone wine press. So you understand these words are not written here. Stone, people, stone. That's the closest I can tell you. That's it. Okay. That's the old wine press. People go there with their feet and they squeeze the grapes in there. You notice where it is? It's underground, right? It's covered. Why is he doing that? So he's taking the wheat to thresh it in this place. Why? Huh? Absolutely. It's very frustrating process. Why is he doing this? All right. So nobody would see it. But would it be finished in time or like in a good time? No, not at all. It's a frustrating process. So now when you look at this and understand what's he going through, and now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree with frozen offer. So I can imagine the angel is sitting with a little bit of a straw in his mouth and he's just biting it, looking at this guy working so hard. That's why it's a funny image. He's sad, like he's enjoying the scenery, looking at him. And while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. Now, if you get this, if you spend time with the Bible, spend time with the images that the Bible is given, you will enjoy it a lot. It's like a big drama, huge drama. And this contrast between this comfortable guy who's looking over and this frustrated, sweaty guy who's like hating his life, right? And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor." And he's biting, I can imagine, like he's biting on the straw. What would you think? What would be the answer to that? Like, leave me alone, right? Leave me alone. Gideon said to him, "Oh my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us?" Okay, you're telling me the Lord is with me, so why is it happening if He is with us? He's frustrated, right? He just answered out of frustration and misery. And where are all His miracles, which our fathers told us about, saying, "See, He's the second generation." And the third generation, He said, oh, okay, about, "Didn't the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us in the hands of the Midianites." Then the Lord turned. So it seems like the angel of the Lord here is not an angel. It is Christ. Always depicted in the Old Testament as the angel of the Lord, the messenger of God. And what's he saying here? "Go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you?" What does that mean? Go in this might of yours. What's he talking about? Might means, so go in the strength of yours. What strength he's talking about?
Like will, like determination.
Yeah.
He's like working that whole day doing that.
He's going the hard way, right? And not only his work, but his words. He is frustrated. He has a lot of anger inside of him because he doesn't really say thank you for the greeting or and with you, No, He just is spitting out his frustration. They're saying, you are strong inside and outside. Take that with you and go and fight the Midianites. You will defeat them. Have I not sent you? And this is how God dealt with the judge. All the judges are like that. God gave them a gift. This was Gideon's gift. Determination, strength. Samson, he gives him what? Physical strength. But he was not a wise person in the head until later. Then he says, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh. He's from Manasseh. I am the least of my father's house. In the book of Judges, the judges are divided not by order of time, divided by location, north, south, east, west. That's how are they divided in the book of Judges. The last of them will be Samson, and then after that will be the end of the book of Judges with one big thing that will remain repeated all over the place. What's the thing that's repeated? Yeah. There was no king in Israel in those days. Nobody to gather them to fight. So everybody was doing whatever they pleased, and this ended up with misery. Samuel wrote this too. Why did he write this sentence? Because Samuel is the writer of the book of Judges. Exactly. He wanted to say to them why you need a king. Because I will tell you what happened when there is no king in Israel. Now, we move on to the book of Ruth. What is in the book of Ruth? Let me see what other people had said. I have this. The people of God faced the task of cultivating land. They began worshiping the Baal, and they were oppressed by their enemies and suffered persecution. God sent the judges. Monarchy was established under King Saul. Ruth, David, Saul disobeyed. David became king, and the census. That's the end of 2 Samuel. Okay. So what about Ruth? What about Ruth? So while this is happening in Israel, it's in the time of the judges, a story, a beautiful story. So the book of Judges show you whole Israel going astray, going to worship other gods. But here's one person who came from a different land, who doesn't belong to Israel, to be a Jew, to follow the God of Israel. She left. Moab was one of the biggest country that worshiped Baal, big time. The center of worship of demons was in Moab. So Ruth come out of this country and join Israel to become the ancestry of. Yes. So Ruth represent the virtuous Gentile who portray, thank you, portray fidelity. Fidelity in the midst of betrayal. So Ruth is the story that goes in the opposite direction. While the judges sometimes judge Israel or is going after Baal and Ashtaroth, Ruth is going the opposite direction. And then she became the great-grandmother of King David. And then therefore she became also the ancestor of Jesus, right? So this is something very profound if you think about it. Samuel is bringing to us. And some scholars said the book of Judges ends up with a big problem in Benjamin. The tribe of Benjamin causes a lot of strife and almost got annihilated, while the tribe of Judah accepted Ruth and the Ruth the virtuous and brought on David. What's he trying to do, Samuel? The scholars would say that. It's a very interesting point. Who is from the tribe of Benjamin? Saul, King Saul. And who is from the tribe of Judah? So as if Samuel is trying to say the origin of Saul is a very bad tribe, and the origin of David is the ancestry are good, so that actually the fruit is good. The ancestry are bad, the fruit is bad, and it might be the case. He's bringing in the book of one of the biggest worst scenarios in the book of Judges is the story of the concubine of the man from Judah. It's a very end of sorry. '21. Here. Ended up by actually destroying the tribe of Benjamin. This is one of the worst stories you can read, and they don't really recommend reading it before you're 30 years old. But here is the verse that keeps repeating. And it came to pass in those days when there is no king in Israel that there was a certain Levite staying in remote mountains of Ephraim. He took for himself a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. She's a Judaizer. But his concubine played, she betrayed him. She cheated. Then her husband, so he sent her back to her father's house in Bethlehem. Then her husband arose and went after her to speak kindly to her and bring her back, having his servant and a couple of donkeys with him. He brought. So it came to pass on the, all right, they arose early in the morning and stood apart. Anyway, they were delayed. They turned aside to go and lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, that's Benjamin, Gibeah of Benjamin. This belongs to Benjamin. So he took his half-wife, slave wife, I can say. When an old man came in from his work in the field at evening, he also was from the mountains of Ephraim, from Benjamin. He was staying in Gibeah, whereas the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he raised his eyes, he saw the traveler in the open square of the city. And the old man said, "Where are you going, and where do you come from?" He said, "We passing from Bethlehem in Judah toward the remote mountains of Ephraim." I'm from there. He's an Ephraimite. "I went to Bethlehem in Judah. Now I am going to the house of the Lord." But there is no one who will take. So it's Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim. This is how we go. So to go from Judah to Ephraim, you need to go through Benjamin. By the way, Jerusalem is in Benjamin, at the border with Judah. So he said, "Come in, I'm going to take you." So he's exercising hospitality. And the old man said, "Peace be with you. However, let all your needs be my responsibility. Only do not spend the night in the open square." And he knows why. This man who's bringing his concubine back from Bethlehem, going up to Ephraim, spending the night in this open square is dangerous. He said that in Benjamin. So he brought him into his house and gave fodder to the donkeys, and they washed their feet and ate and drank. As they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beat on the door. They spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who came to your house that we may know him carnally." Okay. You understand what that means. But the man, so they're not looking into the woman, they're looking into the man. He says, "No, my brethren, I beg you, do not act so wickedly." Where did they learn that? From Canaan. That's why one of the problems of this place, that why God was not very happy with them, is this perversion that started. He said, "No, my brethren, I beg you, do not act so wickedly. Seeing this man has come into my house, not commit this outrage. Look, he's willing to do that. Here is my virgin daughter and the man's concubine. Let me bring them out now. Humble them and do with them as you please. But to this man, do not do such a vile thing." But the men would not heed him. So the man took his concubine and brought her out. It says, awful thing, very awful. And they knew her and abused her all night until morning. And when the day began to break, they let her go. Then the woman came as the day was dawning and fell down at the door of the man's house where the master was till it was light. When her master arose in the morning and opened the door of the house, she went out to go his way, his concubine fallen at the door of the house and her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, "Get up, let's go, be going." But there was no answer. So the man lifted her onto the donkey, and the man got up and went to his place. And when he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout all the territory of Israel. And so it was that all who saw it said, "No such deed has been done or seen from the day that the children of Israel came up from the land of Egypt until this day. Consider it, confer and speak up." They used to do this with animals. What is the point? He showed them pieces from her body. It's like a display of abuse. The woman was abused big time. All her body was beaten. So the pieces were showing the abuse. When they saw it, it was also the way to call people to fight. So what happens? Because of this, Israel got very, very angry. And then what did they do? Here what happens. So all the children of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, and as well as from the land of Gilead, and the congregation gathered together as one man before the Lord at Mizpah. And the leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew the sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. And the children of Israel said, "Tell us, how did this wicked deed happen?" So the Levite, the husband of the woman, was murdered, answered and said, "My concubine and I went to Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin, to spend the night, and the men of Gibeah rose against me and surrounded the house at night because of me. Because of me, they intended to kill me, but instead they ravished my concubine so that she died. So I took hold of my concubine, I cut her," and he told them the story. "Look, all of you are children of Israel. Give your advice, counsel here and now." All the people rose as one man, saying, "None of us will go to his tent, nor will any turn back to his house. But now this is the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot, and we will take 10 men out of every 100 throughout the tribes of Israel, 100 out of every 1,000, 1,000 out of every 10,000, to make provisions for the people. And when they come to Gibeah and Benjamin, they may repay all their vileness." And then so the tribes of Israel sent men throughout so they took choice men from everywhere, and they fought against and they told them, "Bring out those men, so let's deal with it civil. Deliver up the men, the perverted men who are in Gibeah." They refused. Benjamin refused to give them the people that did this. Instead, the children of Benjamin gathered together from their cities. They want to defend them and from their cities. So then the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God to inquire, "Should I fight against my brother?" And the Lord said, "Who should go first?" And God said, "Judah." And that's it to me when you read. The children of Israel rose in the morning and encamped against Gibeah, and the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in battle array. Then the children of Benjamin came out of Gibeah, and on that day cut down to the ground 22,000 men of Israelites. And the people, that is, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and again formed the battle line. And the children of Israel went up against and wept before the Lord. They said, "Why Benjamin is wrong, and why are we defeated? Should we go against them again?" So they said, the Lord said, "Go." And they went. And then the children of Israel, that all the people went up came to the house of God and wept. So the children of Israel inquired of the Lord by the ark of the covenant. And the Lord, "Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hand." Why did God allow Israel to be first conquered and killed by Benjamin? No, that's not this. It's a punishment. It's a discipline. Because apparently the whole Israelites were corrupted. But Benjamin was the leader, was like the head of the game. You know how it is in the time we're in? Sin permeates and it gets worse and worse. Those of the cities in America, this is more, what we call them, progressive. Benjamin was progressive. We're going beyond having like girlfriends and boyfriends. We're going beyond that to having what? Homosexual actions that nobody cares, nobody checks about. Benjamin was progressive, like Los Angeles or New York City. Progressive. Then Israel, so do you think the rest of the cities are okay? No, they're not. They're not. Then Israel set men in ambush all around Gibeah. So what happened at the end? At the end of the story. So the children of Benjamin were defeated. Here, the whole story is like, it's really, at the end of it, so all who fell from Benjamin that day were 25,000 men who drew the sword, and all these were men of valor, strong people. 600 men turned and fled toward the wilderness of the rock of Ben Rimmon, and where they stayed the rock of Rimmon for 4 months. And the men of Israel turned back against the children of Benjamin and struck them down with the edge of the sword from every city, men and beasts, all who were found. They also set fire in all the cities they came to. Big destruction of one of the tribes. This is how the book of Judges ends. What? This is like a nightmare, isn't it? So bad. So bad. So what happened in 21? Let me finish the story and then we'll go. No, now the men of Israel had sworn an oath at Mizpah. One of the things they swore, none of us shall give his daughter to Benjamin as a wife. We're not going to marry our daughter to those corrupt people. And none of us shall give his daughter to Benjamin as a wife. Then the people came to the house of God and remained there before God till evening. They lifted up their voices and wept bitterly and said, O Lord God of Israel, why has this come to pass in Israel, that today there should be one tribe missing in Israel? Benjamin is a tribe. So it was on the next morning, all the people rose early and built an altar there, offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. The children of Israel said, who is there among all the tribes of Israel who did not come up with the assembly to the Lord? They want to see, is there any people, any families that did not swear that oath so we can give their girls to the Benjaminite men? For they had made a great oath concerning anyone who had not come up to the Lord at Mizpah, saying, you shall surely put to death. And the children of Israel grieved for Benjamin their brother, and said, one tribe is cut off from Israel today. What shall we do for wives for those who remain? 200 men, that's all. Seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them our daughters or wives. And they said, what one is there from the tribes of Israel who did not come up to Mizpah to the Lord? And in fact, no one had come to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. Jabesh Gilead is going to have a story with Saul later. And they said, so they said, eventually what happened is the following. So he said, okay, we're not going to give them wives, but we're going to tell them to do something. We have a feast where all the people come and the girls come, especially the girls in marrying age. The feast is where they get to know men to see them and the young men to see them and it shows from them. Said, let the Benjaminites come. We're not going to fight them. Those 200 men hiding, let them come to the feast. And if they see a girl they like, they can take her. And we're not going to do anything about it. Just let them take whatever wives they want. And they did do that. And every man from those 200 got himself a wife. Re-jumped start the tribe. And now they have families. Huh?
That 25,000 was killed, 600 fled. How is there only that 2 came back?
Here. I might be wrong, but let me see. So they said, in fact, there's a yearly feast of the Lord in Shiloh, which is north of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, south of Libonah. Therefore, they instructed the children of Benjamin, saying, go lie in wait in the vineyards and watch. And just when the daughters of Shiloh come out to perform their dances, then come out from the vineyards, every man catch a wife for himself from the daughters of Shiloh, then go to the land of Benjamin. Then it shall be when their fathers or their brothers come to us to complain, that we will say to them, be kind to them for our sakes, because we did not take a wife or for any of them in the war. But it is not as though you have given the women to them at this time, making yourselves guilty for your oath. You swore an oath, they're going to take it by force. Don't fight them. They did so. They made that deal. They took enough wives for their number from those who did danced, whom they caught. And then they went and returned to their inheritance, and they rebuilt the cities and dwelt in them. So the children of Israel departed from there at that time, every man to his tribe and family. They went out from there, every man to his inheritance. In those days, again, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. I would look into the number. I think it was 200, what's left. But what is the story saying of the judges? This is repeated over and over again. I show you 2 times. And Samuel is trying to say what? Because there is no ruler no authority, bishop, no one to say right and wrong, no one to gather people to fight. They were doing everything they want to do, everything they wanted. So this is very important. And it's for me to say, it's really not good for us to have no authority over us. Not good at all, especially growing up. Don't you think so? To grow up without authority over your head and to always feel like you can do whatever you want, the worst thing you can do to yourself. Because if you go with your mood, you end up with the wickedest things happening and you wouldn't know what to do. Say, how did I come here? I don't know. A child who is always close to their father, a child who is close to their servants, a father of confession, or an authority who is trusting them to take them in the right direction, will not be tricked into doing vile things. You keep yourself away from authority, you're going to be in trouble. That's why, no matter what the authority is like, sometimes authority are not the best, but yet it's safe to have them. Safe to have an authority over me. This is what the book says. Later on, Samuel is the writer of this book. He's going to be anointing the first king, Saul, and then he's going to anoint the second king, David. And David is where God is going to make a covenant with him. Let's stop here. And don't you think this story is like a Halloween story? You think so? I think it is. One of the worst things you can do. Don't read that story before you go to bed. Huh? R-rated, and it's more than it's violence to the extreme. To the extreme, you have this contrast between the very innocent people, the very weak and naive people, and the very aggressive, vicious people. This is terrible, terrible. And how did the people of God reach that? The gods of Canaan. That's what they did. They started by going with Canaan. It's so innocent. I'm just doing whatever everybody's doing. You know, what am I doing wrong? There's nothing wrong I'm doing here. Ended up doing exactly what the Canaanites, what God said about Canaan, that they will be destroyed because of all these things. Israel did. Think about this. Why did the Amorites have to be killed and annihilated? You think? Because of this. Because of that. Don't think of them as innocent people who are living everyday life and then that's it. No, they were vicious, vile, aggressive, like what happened before the flood. Basically, that's what it is. Let's say our Father. Make us worthy of receiving. Our Father who art in heaven, be thy name, thy kingdom come. As it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses, as we forgive those trespasses. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. May the love of God the Father and grace His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you. Peace be with you.